I grew up here in Southern California. I was always interested in the arts, drawing, illustrating, always interested in skateboarding, and everything that a kid in SoCal at that time was into, cartoons, especially Saturday morning cartoons, and then just t-shirt brands. At that time, there were surf brands like TNC Surf and Maui and Sons, and eventually that segued into Stussy and other beach brands like that were teetering more on the streetwear edge. And then I got really into skate brands in the 90s, and that opened my eyes to independent streetwear brands like Supreme and A-Life and A Bathing Ape in the late 90s. And that's how I got interested in in this world, I guess. I met my friend Ben when I was in school, and we started working on our brand. It was kind of borrowing along the same lines of building a brand, telling stories through t-shirts, and really what set us off, what distinguished us was we had this blog where I would write and tell our narrative, tell a little bit about our past, our interests and what our everyday lives were like. And that's what thehundreds.com came to be known for, was half the brand, but also half of the experience in the media. And so it's been 17 years, and now we sell around the world, and we've done just a bunch of different projects and fun collaborations, gotten to relive a lot of our youth through them as well. And that's what brings us to this point with the Hundreds and Need for Speed. We've been doing collaborations since we started for over 17 years now. Some of the earlier ones that were really big were Disney, the Hundreds and the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. That one got a lot of noise, as well as the Hundreds and Garfield, which is a project that we revisit from time to time. That one still stands out as one of my favorite collaborations to go to, just because it's such a pleasure to work with Jim Davis and the team. It's also how I learned how to draw when I was growing up. But along the way, we've worked with practically every footwear brand you can think of, from Timberland to Adidas to Puma to Reebok. We've done projects with WWE, Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes, most recently Xbox. And this is our first real foray into gaming as far as a specific video game with the Hundreds and Need for Speed. And so this is now just opening up the hundreds and what co-branded projects may look like for us in the future. Like most DeLorean fans, I think I was introduced to the wonders of the DeLorean Motor Company through Back to the Future. The film trilogy from the 80s, starring Michael J. Fox, about time travel. The DeLorean, the DMC-12, was the time machine that they used throughout all those movies. And so I was initially enamored by watching those films with the car. And then what really made me a fan of the car was learning about the history, about John DeLorean himself and his life story, and what he went through in building this company and this dream that he had. And then over the years, we had a chance to collaborate with DeLorean, and then we worked with Back to the Future, the film franchise itself, multiple times. And so I've gotten to relive this part of my youth over and over again. I actually owned a DeLorean for a number of years. It was considered the world's best. It only had a few hundred miles when I bought it. And so I've been a DeLorean owner. I've been a DeLorean fan my entire life. When Need for Speed came to us with this idea for a collaboration, I couldn't think of any other car that would make sense for me, let alone the overall brand. You know, when the Hundreds is put up against any car or any vehicle, our fans know that it's a DeLorean first. It's kind of hilarious to see myself in a game. It still feels very surreal. It's very bizarre for me. It's really exciting for my children, I got to tell you. And I think it's just, it's fun. I'm really honored to be featured in the game, but I think it's just fun for everyone from our company side. Hopefully it's really entertaining for our community. But yeah, I mean, I never imagined that one day I'd be featured in a game, let alone the first video game collaboration that we ever work with. But if there was ever a game to do it with, Need for Speed is the one. What's the significance of these tracks? Well, I chose 3 songs that I actually listen to and I listen to frequently. And yeah, at the top of that list would have to be Nipsey Hussle's Last Time I Checked. Nipsey was a big influence on my career as well as the world that we live in here at the Hundreds. He's a hometown hero here in LA and we all miss him very much. And so at any chance I can get to feature Nipsey or have his voice included in the conversation, I'm going to do it. There's also a band called Trash Talk that we feature, and these are good friends of ours. And having grown up in the hardcore scene, it was really important that we featured a hardcore band as well as our friends. Street art has been the ever-present language in all that we do in streetwear and street culture. It's the visual language around us. And many of the early streetwear brands that inspired the Hundreds and other companies from our generation were started by street artists like Futura Stash, Rob Jest, who did A-Life. In fact, the foundational generation of streetwear brands were really all run by artists, and they were led by street art. And so we have to pay homage to street art. We have to recognize its importance in all that we're doing within our own brand, but also within streetwear itself. We would not be here today if it wasn't for street art and street artists. When I was 15, what advice would I give myself? I think that, everything works out with time. It's all about timing. And probably my biggest obstacle personally in life is having patience. I'm an incredibly impatient person. I really don't like waiting. I really don't like taking my time. I'm very hasty in that regard. And especially when I was a teenager in my early 20s, I wanted life to happen really quickly. I just had this urgency. I had so much that I wanted to get done, so much to say. I didn't realize that sometimes you just need to let things breathe. And it takes some time is what I like to say. And so there are dreams that I embarked on 15, 17, 20 years ago when we started this company that I've still yet to realize and achieve. And I know I'm going to get there one day. And so learning how to breathe and learning how to just trust the process and trust that with time, things are going to work out for the best. That's probably the best bit of wisdom I could impart upon myself at 15. Hopefully more of the same, more storytelling from just our lives, our opinions, our insights, our experiences, our relationships, our friendships, the things that we're learning every day. Pretty much what this entire project has been about is I stumble upon something that I love, that I find really compelling and interesting, and I just want to share that with the audience. I want to tell the story, I want to educate, I want to inform, and I also want to just spread that love around. And so it's gotten us to this point now, but I think you can expect more of that in the future, perhaps just on a bigger scale, on a grander stage. And I hope you're there for the ride. The Hundreds and Need for Speed.